If you're coming out of a multi-story building, use the stairs and definitely not the elevators. When outside the building, rush to an open field and cover your head while en route. Finally, tune into a broadcasting channel and keep yourself updated on what's happening and what to do next. But remember, prevention is the best solution. This campaign is brought to you by BFM Busan 영어방송.
지금 방송 광고라는 부메랑을 던져보세요. 소비자를 향해 정확히 날아가는 광고. 힘차게 돌아가는 경제. 부메랑처럼 다시 기업의 이익으로 되돌아오니까요. 방송 광고, 경제에 큰 힘이 됩니다. 부산 방송광고발전협의회.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
Every year, the United Nations Development Program ranks the quality of life for each country. Out of the 193 countries in the UN Development Program's Human Development Index, South Korea ranked 20th in the latest report that was released yesterday. Which country topped the list? If you guessed Iceland, you are correct. And Iceland was followed by Norway, Switzerland, and Denmark. I don't know, is there a pattern here? How would you gauge your quality of life is the big question. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Wednesday, May 28th on BEFM 부산 영어 방송. Good morning, early birds, wavers out there. I was trying to be the first one to greet you this morning. I don't even know what place I am at this place, but I love the fact that you guys have kind of caught on to our producer. She does turn on the YouTube feed a little early, and so you guys are so quick. So thank you for saying hello first. You know, the quality of life is an important indicator of what's happening within a country, don't you think? And the next president will have to grapple with that very issue, the quality of life in Korea. So speaking of which, we have less than a week to go until the snap presidential election, and it is shaping out to be a three-man race. The Democratic Party, or DP's Lee Jae-myung, has been the frontrunner, with the People Power Party, the PPP's Kim Moon-soo, right after him, chasing after him. And then the minor Reform Party's Lee Jun-seok still set on seeing the race through. The candidates held their last televised debate on social issues last night, and we'll get into that in a little bit. We're also entering a blackout period. What does that mean? Blackout period. It means that public opinion polls are starting today. We can't talk about them. We don't even have the numbers. So we can't talk about the opinion polls themselves. So with no new poll numbers to be announced, the candidates are either looking to solidify or flip the lead in the remaining 6 days. The DP's Lee Jae-myung is seeking to expand his appeal to the moderate and undecided voters to solidify his frontrunner status. He's announced that he will prioritize economic recovery with a more practical and pragmatic foreign policy approach. As for the PPP's Kim Moon-soo, he is making kind of this anti-Lee Jae-myung appeal and seeking to corral the conservative votes via a merger with Reform Party's Lee Jun-seok. And even if this candidacy unification falls through, Kim's camp is optimistic that conservative voters will strategically vote for him. That's according to the party. However, Lee Jun-suk made it very clear that he will finish the race, drawing a firm line in the sand with the PPP, saying that young voters will vote their conscience and cast their ballot for him. Well, early voting starts tomorrow, goes through Friday. So technically, this is the final day before the election starts, and you can be sure that things will only get heated from here on out. Well, of course, continue to report on the road to the election. But once again, blackout in terms of the polling numbers. Next topic. Are you ready on this hump day? Here we go. What is your current stress level on a scale of 1 to 10? Like 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. What might it be? And what's the major cause of this stress? Let's be honest. Is it your workplace, a particular superior, and you don't have to mention names, your family, or, it could be economic issues, anything along those lines. 자, 1에서 10, 1이 최저, 10이 최고까지 여러분의 현재 스트레스 레벨. 그리고 그 주요 원인은? So let's hear about it. You can unload on us. We can share. We can commiserate. Send in your opinion, your thoughts to BFM's live stream live chat. You can join us on YouTube and chat with our other waivers. Also, pound 9050, shop 9050 on your phone. That's going to cost you 101. You can also get in touch with me for free through Kakao Talk. To find our account, type in BEFM or 부산 영어 방송, and you can add us as a friend first to chat away with me. Also, send in photos too. And the ways you can listen to our program is there are many ways now. 90.5, 103.3 FM. That's if you're in the Busan area. That's for the radio. And like I said, we're streaming live on YouTube. You can watch again at your leisure. We have 2 apps, the BFM app itself and also the Patbang app. You can listen to the 와글와글 segment. Looking at the lineup for this hump day, here we go. We have in hour number 1, Now and Next with Lian. And then in hour number 2, we have Jennifer coming in for Work in Progress. For a special interview today, we're going to be focusing on cybersecurity. It's been the talk of the town, especially with the recent SKT Usum data breach. Everybody wants to know, how can I keep my information safe? How can I not fall victim to malware or, even voice phishing? That's coming up in hour number 2. I'll be back with news overview. It's now 7:06 and this is news overview. Busan bus drivers on strike, Seoul buses running normally. Busan City Bus Union and management have failed to reach an agreement on their wage negotiations, and city buses have suspended operations. All 147 bus routes in Busan have stopped since 4:20 this morning. Presidential candidates square off over politics and security in final TV debate. The Democratic Party's Lee Jae-myung, People Power Party's Kim Moon-soo, and Reform Party Lee Jun-suk, along with Democratic Labor Party, formerly the Justice Party's Kwon Young-guk, squared off over diplomacy and political reform in their final televised debate yesterday. Han Duck-soo and Choi Sang-mok banned from leaving the country. The police banned former Prime Minister Han Duck-soo and former Deputy Prime Minister Choi Sang-mok from leaving the country as they face investigation in the alleged insurrection case related to former President Yoon Suk-yeol. Youth population plummets as multicultural students' numbers soar. The number of South Koreans between the ages of 9 and 24 has nearly halved over the past 40 years, while the number of students from multicultural families has tripled in just a decade. Trump administration considering social media vetting for international students. A U.S. media outlet has reported that the Trump administration is weighing requiring all foreign students applying to study in the United States to undergo social media vetting, as it has ordered for a pause in scheduling new interviews for student visa applications. And this was News Overview. It's time for Now in Busan. We have Sejin in the studio. Let's say hi first. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I hope you made it. I mean, you're here obviously, but normally you take the bus to work, do you not?
I do.
And then today you had to take the subway, right?
I was quite surprised when I found out the bus is not operating today.
Yes. I mentioned it because I want to also forewarn our listeners here in Busan that you might be affected. So leave early and you might have to choose another form of mode of transportation.
Yeah.
But to our text topic, we're talking about stress levels. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, how would you gauge your stress level?
Out of 10, I would say 2 out of 10.
2 out of 10.
But today I got stressed like 5,
Getting here?
6. Yeah, to get here. I got stressed quite a bit. But normally in a daily life, I don't really get stressed other than the sleep deprived.
Okay. So a
this-
2. Wow.
I was
Okay.
lucky enough to be surrounded by the good people who gave off the good energy.
Well, that's definitely good news to hear about your positivity. So Sejin is at a 2. We're going to jump into Now in Busan. We're going to begin with, of course, the big news all over Busan. City buses have stopped running as labor talks collapsed overnight, correct?
Right. Busan city buses have come to a standstill after labor talks failed to reach a deal on a year's wage negotiations.
Yes.
So what happened overnight? The final mediation session at 2:20 a.m. today ended without resolution, so the union officially launched a strike. Busan city buses have been suspended, meaning that they're not running starting with the first bus at 4:20 a.m.
Yes. So what are they negotiating over?
2 big issues, wage increases and whether regular bonuses should count toward the base pay. The union accepted the proposal on the wage reforms from the Labor Commission, but the Busan city said and the bus companies said no.
So let's talk about the city. Why did the city reject this?
According to them, it could mean nearly 50 million won a year in extra cost, and including bonuses in base pay would result in 9% wage increase.
So we do want to focus also on commuters here in Busan. So, we don't want anybody to be stranded. So what are some other contingencies? I mean, what's going on?
So the city has kicked off emergency measures. Charter buses are running from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay.
Subways, light rail lines are running an hour longer during peak times. They're also running 50 more trains on weekdays.
I see. So for the time being, the city is doing what it can to make sure commuters are not inconvenienced. But heads up, once again, the strike is ongoing right now. All right, next, let's talk about food trucks. Food trucks on the beach. So what's this issue about?
The local district office recently floated the idea of allowing 10 food trucks to operate on the sand this July and August.
Okay.
But it's been stirring up a bit of controversy in Haeundae.
Well, tell us about the plan first, and then we'll get into the controversy.
Yes. The plan is to bring in food trucks selling Korean, Japanese, Western food, snacks, and desserts, all inside what's called a private promotion zone. That's an area set up to bring a bit of energy to the beach,
Yes.
letting private companies host different events and activities.
Okay.
There you'll find concert, DJ parties, yoga sessions, and a little Arctic experience zone.
Well, it does sound like it could be really popular with beachgoers. So what's the issue?
Well, once the food truck plan was introduced in that area, local shop owners were vehemently opposed it because they are the ones who put up with the pricey rent cost all year just
yes.
to earn during the peak seasons.
Right.
For them, selling the same food and drinks right on the beach, that's what they say simply unbearable. What really got to them, though, was the fact that the whole thing was discussed without getting them involved.
Oh, in the discussion process, I see. Well, hopefully the shop owners will be included in future discussions.
Actually, they will. The district office say that they're planning to bring the merchants and food truck operators together soon to discuss, hopefully, adjust the plan.
Yes. So thank you for covering this story. Let's move on to our next story. What's this one about?
Busan City will be dispatching a trade delegation to Southeast Asia this summer.
Okay.
Starting from July 28th, the city, along with the Busan Economic Promotion Agency, is planning a 6-day visit to Malaysia and Indonesia.
Interesting. So which countries in particular?
Well, it's all part of a wider push to help local businesses adapt to global shift. This idea actually came after the city ran a survey on how local firms were dealing with changes in U.S. trade policy. Turns out many said that they were looking to adjust their supply chains and find new market.
Yes.
So Busan's decided to focus on the so-called global south, including countries like Malaysia and Indonesia, like I said, which are now seen as rising stars in the global economy.
Indeed. So I meant to say why and I said what. So those are the reasons why these countries, once again, Malaysia and Indonesia, were chosen. And so who will be going on this trip?
It'll be 10 Busan-based small and medium-sized companies whose export figures were under $30 million last year. And they're calling it the Asian Trade Delegation. While they're there, they will take part in export meetings and visit buyers on site.
Yes. So are they getting any support for this?
Yeah, the city covers half of the cost of the flight, local transport, interpreters, and venue setup for the meetings.
I see. So it sounds like they're getting some solid support. Can other companies still apply for this?
Yes, if any companies are interested, they need to apply by June 5th through the city's overseas marketing portal.
All right, so there's still a few days left. So if you're interested, definitely look into it. Well, for our next story, it's almost time for Busan's, biggest portside celebration. So what's going on?
The Busan Port Festival is kicking off this weekend in celebration of 30th Ocean Day.
Wow, 30th. So what's in store for this year?
Well, quite a lot. Especially this year, the festival's expanding with Hallyu content, including a K-pop concert, fireworks, and even a tech-powered K-pop fair.
Oh, sounds like a good variety. Like there's something for everyone.
Exactly. On the morning of Friday, on the 30th, a K-pop fair will showcase a latest tech in the entertainment industry.
Yes.
Then at 11:30, there's a K-pop conference where AI and the future of music will take center stage.
Oh, and what about the concert itself?
That starts at 7 p.m. Big names like Super Junior DNE, CN Blue, and Flying Ichi, just to name a few. And then there's going to be a stunning fireworks show at 9:30.
So that's on day 1. What about day 2?
Lowe's, day 2. So on the 31st, which is this Saturday,
Yes.
you'll see cover dance shows, jazz and classical busking, hands-on activities like traditional boat making or taking a canal boat tour.
Yes.
You can check out all the details about it on the official website, Busan Festival Organization.
Yes. Once again, that is the festival coming up this weekend. Now let's get to our last bit of news. What is this?
Here's something to mark in your calendar.
Okay.
Before the official opening of Busan's concert hall next month, there will be a lovely outdoor event called Classic Park Concert on June 7th and 8th in Busan Citizens Park.
Okay.
On the first day, soprano Jo Soo-mi will be performing a gala concert.
Ooh, amazing. We just talked about her on Monday with Michael Kang. What about on day 2?
And on day 2, Jung Myung-hoon will conduct a KBS Symphony Orchestra with pianist Son Woo-yeon. They'll be playing Beethoven's Symphony and Piano Concerto.
So if you are a fan, many people are of Jo Soo-mi or Jung Myung-hoon, you might want to go to this. Do we need to buy tickets?
No tickets needed,
Okay.
just to turn up early because the seating is first come, first served. And even if it rains, no worries, the concert will be moved indoors.
Okay, so they are ready. They have a contingency plan. Got it.
Right.
Well, thank you for all the local news, and we'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Sajin.
Thank you.
All right, and we're going to get you your traffic and weather.
The Korea Broadcast Advertising Cooperation (KOBACO) is offering support for the production of broadcast advertisement for innovative small and medium-sized enterprises. Up to 45 million Korean won is available for television advertisements and up to 3 million Korean won for radio advertisements. Applications will be accepted until 6 p.m. on June 2nd. For more information, please visit the KOBACO website. We appreciate your interest.
It's time for your traffic right now. There is some congestion on 만덕대로 from Sukdong intersection to Deokcheon intersection. It's backed up on Dongso overpass from Pumnukgo ramp to the old Kaegum toll gate. And there is some traffic reported on Luno Samsungdaero from Myeongji underpass to Shinho Bridge. And it's also looking slow on Gwanmundaero from Bangeum Tunnel to Baegang Tunnel. It is currently 17 degrees Celsius under clear skies here in Busan. It's going to go up to 24. However, there's a chance of showers in the evening. Across the nation, cloudy with showers forecast for parts of Gangwon and Gyeongbuk in the morning, and then that might spread to the rest of the country by the afternoon. However, the daytime highs in some areas are going to go up to 29 degrees Celsius. Bad find dust levels in the capital area. So you might not want to mask up if you're there. And also for those of you who usually take the bus once again, there's a strike going on, check the news. This was your traffic and weather. It's time for Top Stories. We have Haley in the studio to report on all the stories. Good morning.
Good morning.
So let's talk about stress. Scale of 1 to 10.
3.
3.
I think.
Why the
3. Yeah. I mean, I do get like momentary stress from work. Like, for example, this morning.
Like spurts.
Exactly. I get
of stress.
spurts, but it's more pressure. Like, you just have stuff to do. You just have to get it out. Because, for example, this morning I wake up and there's a bus strike going
Right.
on. Gotta write that. And then, I have to still catch up on the news from presidential
Sure.
debate. So you just have X number of minutes until a live broadcast and an XX number of words that you have to spew out onto the pages. So you just go.
Everybody's level's kind of low. I'm at like a 6 or a 7.
But I think for me, that's all I have to care about / think about, because household stuff.
You're
I'm just
single.
like.
Yes.
And I also have a built-in chauffeur and a cleaner, aka
Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad. Yeah, so that definitely, because when they're gone, I think because of me, they go on a lot of trips.
Yes.
I think also to ask them about their stress level.
They're
That's
de-stressing away from you.
It's not
I'm
my
just kidding.
it's
Yeah.
not my problem. But yeah, when they go out and I have to
Yes.
be the breadwinner and the housekeeper, I'm like,
drive yourself.
I'm only one person. Gosh, how do
Oh,
people
no.
do this? Yeah,
God forbid you drive yourself.
I know. And clean.
Yes. All right, we're going to jump into the key points from yesterday's final presidential debate. So-
I mean, speaking of stressful, the final round of, let's call mudslinging and attacks took place all over national TV yesterday, as unfortunately a lot of the issues did get pushed to the back amid the attacks.
Okay.
So let's start. Democratic Party's Lee Jae-myung, People Power Party Kim Mun-soo, Reform Party Lee Jun-seok, Justice Party, their Korean name is the Democratic Labor Party's Kwon Young-guk. So the thing is, though, none of these so-called exposés or, the attacks came out yesterday were new
Okay.
allegations. But the way that the candidates went about throwing them was a lot more aggressive with the clock ticking. We are at now, D-6. So first from Lee Jae-myung to Kim Mun-soo, he really honed in on the whole insurrection and martial law issue. He stated that Kim is former President Yoon Suk-yeol's avatar. Basically, he's in English, it'd be more of a puppet, and is either in the force that incited insurrection or at least appears to be in support of them.
Okay.
And he pointed to various personnel appointments or attempted personnel appointments within the Kim Mun-soo camp. Lee Jae-myung also criticized Reform Party's Lee Jun-seok's action on the night of martial law, him as a lawmaker not showing up to the vote.
However, candidates also hit back at Lee Jae-myung himself.
Right now, from Kim Mun-soo to Lee Jae-myung, he
Okay.
mentioned his judicial risks, with Lee facing 5 trials and people around him dying. And he said that was just for his time serving as the mayor of Seongnam and governor of Gyeonggi. So basically said, God knows what will happen when you become the president. Lee Jun-suk brought up the whole company, the corporate card usage, and the scandal involving Lee Jae-myung's late brother and his brother's wife.
Yes, yes. Well, let's turn our attention to PPP's Kim Moon-soo for a moment because he got an endorsement from a political heavyweight yesterday.
Right. So in an urgent press conference yesterday, former Democratic Party chairman, also former Prime Minister Lee Na-kyun announced that he has formed an alliance with Kim Moon-soo. Lee Na-kyun said that he is trying to stop, quote, a monstrous dictatorial state, referring to Lee Jae-myung, from emerging, and to collaborate in hopes of building the Seventh Republic. He said that him and Kim Moon-soo saw eye to eye on forming a joint integrated government, working towards a constitutional amendment and a 3-year presidential term for this upcoming president so that the presidential and general elections will line up for the year 2028.
Okay.
However, this has really come as a little expected, but also a shock for the Democratic Party, especially in the pro-Moon Jae-in faction, as Lee Na-kyun was seen as a part of the pro-Moon faction. So for the Democratic Party, its election committee's leader, Kim Min-seok, said that basically Lee Na-kyun is a traitor and that history is both comical and tragic, and calling the joint forces anti-constitutional.
Yes, yes. So for now, I think we're going to move on to economics. We actually have a positive story, thank goodness, to report
Yes,
on.
let's have a little bit of a palate cleanser.
Yes.
So consumer confidence, 소비자 심리 지수, is up. Yeah, so
Really?
we're spending more by the biggest margin in almost 5 years.
Wow.
Right. So this is according to the Bank of Korea report on consumer trends. The Composite Consumer Sentiment Index, CCSI, 소비자 심리 지수, for the month of May came to 101.8 points.
Okay.
This is an 8-point jump from the previous month and the highest jump since October of 2020. And we are actually seeing returns to the pre-martial law level, so pretty much to November of last year. So how to read this CCSI? If the figure is above 100,
Yes.
there's consumer optimism.
Okay.
Below 100, consumer pessimism. So according to an official from the central bank, political uncertainties, domestic political uncertainties, and also external factors like U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff policy, they have somewhat alleviated. Not resolved, but somewhat alleviated, and that has vastly improved consumer confidence.
Okay.
So basically, consumers were looking for a reason to be a little more optimistic. And there's also an issue of relativity, 상대성, right? Because since sentiment has been really low for the past few months,
True.
so again, any signs for good news really boosted that figure.
Okay.
By the way, the CCSI is determined over 6 categories, including your current living situation, future projections about your living situation, household income projections, spending projections, and economic assessment and projections. In terms of specifics, there were double-digit jumps in how people assess the current economy and future economic projections, which is good news.
Yes.
So again, experts attribute this to potential changes coming in the political sphere, including majorly the election,
Yes.
and how new government policy could affect that, as well as the parliament having just passed Parliament passing the extra budget.
Yes, so definitely a positive story once again. Well, let's talk about this next. The Fair Trade Commission, the FTC, has revised its rules so that people can avoid losing money when their gym, or I guess in Korea they call it 해수, suddenly closes down, shuts
Because it
down.
happens. And I mean,
Yes.
during COVID and post-COVID and the economy being what it is,
Yes.
businesses do shut down. But the problem with fitness centers is that their memberships are long. I mean, you can get a monthly membership, but they offer these really enticing discounts if you get a 3-month, 6-month, a year-long
Exactly.
membership. And where's that money going? Disappearing. The irony of people trying to be healthy, because also fitness is really great for your mental health.
Right.
And then this becomes an added stress because where'd your money go? So in Korean, we colloquially call it 헬스장 먹튀. It's basically like a dine and ditch, but for your
Yes.
membership. So the FTC, the Fair Trade Commission, announced that it has revised the standard terms and conditions for fitness centers. So in Korean, that's 체력 단련장 이용 표준 약관 개정. A major part of the revision says that if a fitness center owner is looking to close their business, either temporarily or permanently, they must notify the users, the members, at least 2 weeks prior to the planned shutdown date.
Okay.
And this is actually already written into law. However, putting that onto the standard contract that is used by many businesses, that would prevent consumer losses and make sure that it's also beneficial for businesses that they don't unknowingly break the law because it is written there in black and white.
Yes.
This also stipulates that the notification must apply to those receiving personal training, a PT, right? Because here's the thing, because some people who get personal training, they don't, or it's built, the gym membership is built into the personal training
True.
fees. So there was a bit of a gray area on whether you could technically see them as gym members or just personal trainees. But anyways, this change is expected to reduce consumer damages from these sudden shutdowns and basically help consumers and businesses overall.
Yes, indeed. So let's be aware, though, of
Right.
this when you sign anything. We're going to move on to our final story. So there are 2 spots on the Korean peninsula that will likely be designated as new UNESCO heritage sites, right?
Right. So yesterday we reported briefly that the International Council on Monuments and Sites, ICOMOS, they've recommended that the petroglyphs that you see on our
Yes.
YouTube page, those are rock carvings, 암각화 along Ulsan's Pangucheon stream. They will likely be included onto the UNESCO World Heritage List.
Yes.
So let's talk about this area. These engravings on the rock face, they're located on the lower part of a cliff of a river in Ulsan. They're first discovered in 1971 and were designated as the country's national treasure.
Yes.
This Pangucheon area, Pangudae, was listed on the UNESCO's tentative list back in 2011. South Korea applied for the listing in January of last year.
Okay.
So when made official, if and when, these will become the country's 17th UNESCO heritage site.
Nice. And then a major landmark in North Korea is about to get a UNESCO designation as well.
Right, a very famous mountain, Kumgangsan. Mount Kumgangsan,
Yes.
known as really hands down the most beautiful mountain in all of Korea, also received an ICOMOS recommendation to be included on the UNESCO list.
Okay.
So the official name for that heritage site is Mount Kumgang, Diamond Mountain from the sea. But as you can see, it's a huge mountain with multiple peaks, cliffs, waterfalls, and ponds with great biodiversity and different views across all seasons.
Yes.
This process took a lot longer, 4 years after North Korea filed its designation request. But there were delays with on-site visits and everything with the COVID pandemic.
Yes.
North Korea having completely shut down.
Right.
So it's been reported that North Korea applied for Mount Kumgang to be both a natural and a cultural landscape. Once the recommendation goes through the World Heritage Committee meeting in Paris, that's scheduled for July of this year, I mean, unless anything major happens, these recommendations usually go through. And if that happens, this will be North Korea's 3rd UNESCO heritage site.
Yes, and speaking of which, I hear that there was a move for a joint inter-Korean registration of a site.
Because, the 38th parallel is a man-drawn
It's an imaginary
line. Right. It
Right.
is an imaginary line, and
Yes.
the DMZ, although fortified, again, man-made. So
Yes.
the mountains are all really connected if you think about it. So there was when relationships were good, a move to combine this with Mount Seoraksan, even actually together with the DMZ for a joint UNESCO site. However, with Kumgangsan's solo designations, the chances go down vastly because there really isn't a chance for a site to get 2 designations. But scholars say that we should actually be paying attention to North Korea's recent movement.
Yes.
That ever since Kim Jong-un took power, the country's been making various revisions to its domestic laws to actively participate in UNESCO heritage treaties and various programs. And this is certainly different from how reclusive it has been to the international community. But it really goes back to domestic economic conditions in North Korea, that it is really trying to boost its economy, even if that involves getting into and getting along with some parts of the international community.
All right. Well, we'll see. Fingers crossed to see if these designations go through. But thank you so much for going over all the news. We'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
Well, we're ready for our first song break for this hump day. Here we go. This is Jump by Kim Dong-yul.
그다지 재밌는 게 없어 노는 것도 싫고 술도 시큼도 연애도 살짝 귀찮아 택한 권이 벌써 몇 달째 직장이 넘어가지 않고 큰맘 먹고 샀던 카메라 위에 뿌연만지만 가득해 해야 하는 일은 많지만 쉽사리 손에 잘 안 잡혀 하고 싶은 일이 많았었는데 웬일인지 다시 시해 아직 모든 게 신기한 내 20살 때처럼 새로운 내일에 설레하며 가슴이 뛰고 싶어 이제는 나를 깨우고 싶어 또 다른 나를 찾고 싶어 어디서부터 무엇부터인지 몰라도 한번 달려가 볼까 벌컥 저지르는 용기와 두둑한 배짱을 갖고서 열정에 가득 찬 나를 불사를 그 무언가가 필요해 영화에서처럼 짜릿한 반전은 기대하지 않아 그저 내 마음이 이끄는 대로 한 번쯤 가고 싶을 뿐 땀에 흠뻑 젖은 채로 쓰러질 듯 숨타도 뭔가 해냈다는 뿌듯함에 한바탕 웃고 싶어 이제는 나를 깨우고 싶어 또 다른 나를 찾고 싶어 어디서부터 무엇부터인지 몰라도 지금부터라도 더는 늦기 전에 나를 깨우고 싶어 또 다른 나를 찾고 싶어 어디서부터 무엇부터인지 몰라도 한번 달려가 볼까 싶어 또 다른 나를 찾고 싶어 어디서부터 무엇부터인지 몰라도 지금부터라도 더는 늦기 전에 나를 깨우고 싶어 또 다른 나를 찾고 싶어 어디서부터 무엇부터인지 몰라도 한번 달려가 볼까
Welcome back, everybody. I was smiling looking at some of your messages. I want to give a shout out to a new person that I have not seen. 고 KD님. 이 아침에 노래 너무 좋네요. 경기도 시흥에서도 아침마다 잘 듣고 있어요. I like hearing about how we have listeners from all over the peninsula. All over the world, actually, and to get to know you through our program is such an amazing experience. So thank you for chiming in, and giving us a shout out and saying hello. So hello to you as well. Our text topic, however, is about your current stress level. So let's look at some of your responses. And here we go. For some people, it's quite low. I was kind of like Cecilia. Cecilia says relatively low, 3 out of 10. I have a sleep problem. I want to sleep straight through the night. I wake up so many times. But you know, sleep is so important. I wish I could sleep through the night too. On average, I wake up 3 times. It's so bad. It's like at this point, I'm like, do I need to seek like medical intervention and get something that'll kind of help me sleep through the night? Maybe. I don't know. I got to look into it. Michael Kim says, for me, 1 out of 10. 1. He says, I put 90% of my stress to his higher being, God, God, and start every day with 10% of interest about how, the planned things in life will be finalized. So he says he's a 1 out of 10, like very low stress level. For other people, Benny says 2 out of 10. The reason at times I am stressed when at home by my parents nagging. 부모님들이 조금 바가지 긁나 봐요. But kind of adjusting well. So those are some of your messages. Leslie says, I feel like most of the time my stress is low. A 2 or 3, regular stress. It generally only goes up when plans don't go according to plan. 계획한 게 자기가 원하는 대로 안 되면 like hanger, meaning like hunger, anger, and momentary annoyances. Ooh, so pretty low. I would say I'm like, I don't know, now I feel bad. I'm like a 6.5. It's because of work, and then, somebody I got to send off to college. So it's like the stress level right now is like, it's kind of up there. Normally, I think I'm like a 4. So we're going to get to Lian and Now and Next, though. It's time for Now and Next. We have Lian in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
So you heard our text topic, right?
Yes, I
So
did.
what's your stress level right now?
I was thinking it differs at what point of the day that you would be asking.
Oh, really?
So on average, I think quite low, like 2.
2.
But if you're asking me at like 8 o'clock at night, probably like 8.
Is it
I think
because
all
the family's
the
home?
mothers
The
will
kids?
agree. 8 o'clock is when your stress level peaks, when you have to get your kids, go to the shower, go to bed, do your homework, because it's almost nighttime.
Yeah.
And then you have so many things to do. And then you have piling, 설거지,
Of
waiting. And then you have your
house
kids
chores.
still dirty, not
Right.
doing their homework. And it's just like, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock
But
is
that
peak.
pulls down that pulls up the stress level
Level
on average.
on
But
average?
during the day when I'm alone,
You're okay.
0. Happy. So
Why?
happy.
Because the kids are at school.
Yes, so I can
Yes.
do anything with whatever I want.
Yay. Okay. We're going to jump into our topic today. So what are we focusing on?
So what's coming now, what's trending now and next is what we're going to talk about. And do you know 테토 남녀 or 애견 남녀? 애견, 테토.
I'm just gonna be honest. When I first read it, I thought it said Tottenham.
Tottenham.
Because that's been on my mind. But it's
Like,
테토 남녀.
테토 남.
Right. I was like, what is this?
토트넘.
뭐예요? What is this?
Right, so it's another personality wave craze that Korea is going through.
I mean,
So-
Korea's obsessed with like
Personality.
해수욕장, MBTI, and
Yes,
like that.
and now it's this.
It's this. Okay.
It's the are you a 테토녀, 테토나, 애견녀, or to a guy we would ask, are you a 테토남 or 애견남?
So we gotta explain.
Yes. So for those who don't know, 테토남녀, it refers to people with testosterone type energy. So we're talking about male or female that are very bold and logical in their thinking, less emotion, and they're also confident in their action first.
Okay.
So 애견남녀 on the flip side are we're talking about estrogen level, estrogen type of people who basically are more empathetic, they're expressive, and they're more emotionally attuned.
Ooh, okay.
So I feel like 근데 이것도 심플하게 얘기해서 테토는 약간 T 같고 애견은 약간
그렇게
F
느껴져요.
같은 느낌이 있어요.
네.
솔직히. But
네.
I think that there's more layers to this. Like,
Okay.
But so Catherine, where do you think you fall in the category? Do you think you're the 애견 or the 테토?
So our 예지 PD님 said 겉으로는 to me about me she says 겉으로는 되게 테토녀 같은데 속은 아닌 것 같다고. Like saying
속은
you know
약간
속은 약간 여성스러운 그러지 않을까. I think I'm kind of a mixture though. Like when I'm working, definitely 테토녀. Because like I just want to get it done. I want to work with professionals.
Right, you're just
you know,
logic.
You know, because like there's a lot that I have to get through the day. So it's like, you know, I want it to be concise. I want to work with people that have good energy, are positive, and can get the job done.
Right.
Really important, right?
Let's get down to it.
Yeah, let's get down to it. And then, you know, maybe like at home, a little bit more of the other, the 애견.
Because
like, you know, I can't,
여성스러운 Catherine.
like to my roommate, I have like 정말 애교 많이 해요.
진짜?
Nobody can kind of like imagine it. 근데 엄청.
can't.
엄청.
말이 막 짧아지시고 그러나요?
혀 짧아져요.
짜짜. Really, Catherine?
Well, no, even like, because like he drives me every morning. And then like sometimes like he throws hearts and every time I mention this, the you know the I can't say the brand, but the yogurt lady with a cart.
Yes.
She passes by at the same time. So we always say she's always staring because she wants to know.
또
저러네 하고 진짜 쳐다봐요. 네.
Oh my god.
He's always throwing hearts like different ways.
That is so lovely.
But the thing is, like at that early in the morning, if I'm in a good mood,
yeah, you're like
okay. But then like because I know that
조금
ladies watching
부끄러워하는
조금
style.
부끄러워. But in the car, like totally, we hold hands in the car
oh my.
at 5:45 in the morning.
Lovebirds.
조금 너무 잃는가요?
아니야.
새벽 5시 45분에 손잡고 왔어요 오늘 in the car.
Oh,
so
that is
that's
so
why.
sweet.
So our producer is correct. She's doing this. 근데 일할 때는 절대로 안 그러죠.
일할 때는 안 그러고.
네. 네.
완전히 flip. Like I think your mode changes like 180 degrees.
Tommy says, "Oh my God, don't do that, cat. That's scary."
Why?
Don't worry, not to Tommy.
It's not scary.
자기한테 안 그래요.
이런 걸 반전 매력이라고 하죠.
네, 자기한테만 그래요. Don't worry. Okay, so
Don't worry.
where do these words stem from?
Yes. So basically, you know, it's a personality vibe. It's nothing, you know, medical diagnosis. Like we're not testing our levels of testosterone. Although I do feel like as I'm getting older, I'm getting more testosterone. But
yes.
So you know, the Gen Z is all over this trend on their dating apps, their SNS feeds. They're like putting their hashtag like 테토애견. You know, they're really liking this new label that they're putting on themselves and for their friends as well.
Yes.
So again, teto, you know, for our listeners, you might want to, if you want to have fun categorizing yourself, again, it's people who prefer one-on-one debates over group hugs. You like quick decisions and action plans. I think this is kind of like what you would like, Catherine. And also you think crying in public is inefficient. 좀 활용적이지 않다. 뭐 이런 느낌.
근데 yeah. See, when I'm in public,
You agree?
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't
just
even
get on
like
with the business.
Like, I don't even like PDA in public. Like in public, I don't want to be that open. It's just when we're in private.
Right.
근데 문제가 my husband is the opposite. Like he always wants to hold hands.
Oh my gosh, I think
마트 갈 때도
you're-
손잡고 다니세요.
Oh, your husband is 애견남 then.
완전. Like so, like he wants to hold hands in public, and like
He's
when
so expressive with his feelings.
when we're at the mart,
Yeah.
마트 갈 때도 항상 손잡고 가는 걸 원해요. 저는 살짝 like,
What a
we're in
sweet
public.
husband.
anyways, yes. So yes.
Anyway, so you know the teto 남녀, they're often misunderstood as cold, but you know that's not the case.
No.
And they often protect people in a practical way. They solve problems. They defend their friends, taking the lead when no one else will. So I feel like I think I'm more teto than 애견 right now.
Right now.
I look like a teto, but I feel like inside I'm teto too.
Oh really?
And I think my partner wants me to be more 애견. 좀 여성스러워질 수 없겠니? 왜 약간 이런 느낌? 나는 털털한 여자였는데 평생 어쩔 수가 없다. Anyways, I should learn from you, Catherine.
No, nothing to learn. Nothing to learn. Nothing to learn. Yes.
So also, okay, to talk about 애견, you remember, 애견 is when you remember everyone's birthday, and you can get down to very 섬세한 디테일을 기억하는 거죠, like their favorite cake flavor, and you often cry during movie trailers.
I definitely don't. Yeah.
and you overthink text before sending them. So this is quite extreme, the spectrum.
Yeah.
So 애견남녀 are often kind of like the emotional backbone of their social circle, right? So they're like great listeners, they're community builders, and whenever people are in a crisis, this is the go-to person for comfort. They're asking for comfort. So according to some articles on Health Joseon, individuals with higher levels of testosterone tend to exhibit self-assertion, independence, and those with higher levels of estrogen are, again, delicate, empathetic, and so on. But, experts do warn against oversimplifying personalities,
Absolutely.
Based solely on these hormonal associations.
Right.
Because I actually did the test myself. There's so many trending tests online that helps you find out whether you're a 테토녀 or a 애견녀.
I got to do this. I'm so curious now.
Yeah, and it was quite fun, and I came out to be 테토녀, not surprisingly. But I sent the link to my friends. Like,
Yes.
너네들 다 해봐 했는데 they were very unhappy with the
result?
limited number of choices that you get. Like, this is so extreme. Like, why do I have to choose between
Like one- it's like too
crying on trailers when I watch trailers and then just being like a cold-hearted person. So it's quite extreme because
Okay.
그러니까 정말 재미로 봐야 되는 거 맞는 것 같고.
Okay.
And, experts do say it is very important to recognize the complexity of human behavior and, avoid rigid classifications because we don't want to be misunderstood just because we're categorized as a certain type of person. Right. So it's all for fun. And,
Yes.
some people say they're both 테토녀, who love like Excel spreadsheets, like all things like business related, and also they do love crying at K-dramas.
That's true.
So
I think it can
we
be
all
both.
have both sides,
sides of you.
this
and you.
spectrum.
Yes.
And I think listening to you, you and your partner, I heard it feels like you're both like 애견남녀. 근데 I thought married couples are opposite because that's what my observation. So I'm 테토녀, my husband I think is 애견남, and my friends who are 테토녀, 애견남 같은 남편을 갖고 있는 것 같더라고요.
But for me, I think technically I am 테토녀.
Technically. Yes.
It's because I'm only like
if you
that
have
with
to choose, you're
I'm
a little bit
definitely
more
테토녀. But then like
Your
he
husband
brings
is
out the
right.
that side of me.
Me too.
Like, okay, this might be TMI, but I'm gonna share it. I was like, my youngest one asked me. She's like, because she sees us holding hands. She asked me recently. She goes, "Mommy, 엄마, did you 아빠가 손잡을 때 아직도 설레?" And I thought about it. I go,
Really?
아직도 설레.
소름
We've been
끼쳤어.
married for 25
소름 끼쳤어.
years. Oh my god.
Oh my
So she
God.
asked me, and she asked me like last week. She was curious. She's like, "Do you still have like
Like butterfly feeling?
가족 느낌 말고 like lover 느낌 in that sense like do you?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." When he like doesn't say anything and he grabs like from my hand in the car, she asked like 아직도 설레요? And I was like, 생각해보니까 아직도 설레.
That's so sweet. 근데 저는 설레는 것까지는 아니고 좋긴 해요.
좋은데?
좋은 느낌.
저는 근데 아직도 설레.
와, 진짜 심장이 두근거린?
Like I feel like he he reached that.
He like wanted to hold
He like the
hands.
silent, strong like the hand. 우리 PD님 왜 이렇게 좋아하세요 오늘?
지금 연애하시는 거 아니에요?
아니요.
결혼 지금 10년 전차 아니신가요? 너무 행복한. 이거
죄송합니다.
들으면 약간 다들 결혼하고 싶을 것 같아요.
There's so many comments coming up. And even Taejin says, 저희 부부도 손잡고 다니는데. So I mean,
손잡고 다녀도 그걸 막 설레하면서 손잡고 다니는 거는 좀 another level.
not 100%, not like all the time. I'm not like psychotic, but
손잡았다.
like not like every single time. Like not every single like 가끔 이게 there are instances where I'm like,
Yes.
that
It's the unexpected moments that make you really happy.
맞아요.
Mine is, I guess, in the morning.
In the morning
when we're awake. The first thing he does is like hold my hand. It just shows that
The first thing
뜨자마자 이렇게 해주는 건 좋은 것 같아요.
너무 좋아요.
되게.
The first thing he does in the morning is when he wakes up to drive me 새벽에, he gets me a warm cup of warm water and says, because to take care of my throat.
Right.
And he does that. He goes, make sure you always. So he gets it for me. 그래서 직접 갖다 줘요. 근데 넌 너무 못됐죠. 안 마시고 싶은데, like, because I hate warm water.
He spoiled you with his love.
Anyhow, TMI, so sorry. I apologize. 오늘로 끝으로 다음부터 안 그럴게요. We're gonna
lovey-dovey.
call it a wrap, but thank you. This was so interesting. I'm gonna go do the test.
You gotta do it, and you have to make your husband do it.
Okay, I will. Well, this was Lian once again, everybody. We look forward to next week as well. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We're gonna get to our final song. This is 누나 너무 예뻐 by Shiny. 근데 난 누나 아닌데. 나는 훨씬 동생인데. Anyhow, enjoy. I'll be back at 8.
너무 예뻐서 남자들이 가만 안 둬 흔들리는 그녀의 맘 사실 알고 있어 그녀에게 사랑은 한순간의 느낌일 뿐 뭐라 해도 나에게 삶의 everything 그녀는 어딘가 부담스러운가 봐 날 바라보는 눈빛이 말해주잖아 And I think I'm gonna hate it girl 끝이 다가오는 걸 가슴이 말해준다 누가 뭐래도 누가 너무 예뻐 그녀를 보는 난 미쳐 하지만 이젠 지쳐 Replay 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 두만을 밝혀 아파서 이젠 맘을 고쳐 다가올 이별에는 Replay 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 누나 나의 MVP 부러움에 뿌듯했지 늘 시선 집중 그녀와 함께 나는 so cool 제발 이 선을 놓지 말자던 나의 다짐은 어느 순간부터 거짓인 걸 알아 이제 모두 아는 걸 날 대하는 몸짓이 말하고 있잖아 I wanna hear it right 지나가오는 걸 가슴이 소리친다 이별 앞에서 너무 예뻐 하지만 이젠 지쳐 You make me wanna 내 맘을 핥혀 I need it We need a replay 그녀는 아직까지 누구와 진실된 사랑의 맛을
현대해상 모델 이정재입니다. 인생은 계속해서 모양을 바꾸죠. 혼자에서 가족으로 또 사회로 점점 커져가는 당신의 인생을 따라 당신의 어떤 인생도 감싸주는 마음 넓은 보험이 될 수 있도록 마음이 합니다. 현대해상.
선을 하나 넘었을 뿐인데 익숙한 세상이 아름답게 다가옵니다. 야외 조각 공원과 함께 세계 각국 초청 작가들의 전시가 지그재그 아트센터에서 당신을 기다립니다. 예술은 직선을 걷지 않는다. 지그재그 아트센터.
혹시 지금 운전 중이신가요? 어린이 교통사고 피해자 수는 지난 3년 평균 약 9만 명. 특히 어린이 보호구역 안전기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
From Busan to the world, feel the power of Korean culture. Now, Busan is ready to play a song that will touch hearts around the world together with global friends. 문화와 바다가 만나는 도시 부산. 열정과 희망이 가득한 글로벌 관광 허브 도시 부산. 글로벌 K-pop 팬들이 하나 되는 축제 부산 원아시아 페스티벌. 한류 콘텐츠의 심장이 부산에서 뜁니다. The place where the Korean wave begins. A cultural hub blending tradition and innovation. 늘 새롭고 머물고 싶고 다시 찾고 싶은 도시 부산. Play, work, live, 부산. 이 캠페인은 부산의 관광 가치를 창조하는 글로벌 플랫폼 부산관광공사와 함께합니다.
The weather is so nice today. I'm sure this won't be a big deal.
A 3-second long lapse in judgment can burn up an entire mountain, which will take 100 years to recover. We can protect these lush forests if you follow these guidelines. First, do not bring flammable materials to the mountains. Second, do not cook or camp in the mountains. Third, do not litter cigarette butts. Your small actions are the first step towards protecting the beautiful forest. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM 부산 영어 방송.
김밥가게 박 사장님도 문구점 김 사장님도 우리 부산의 경제를 움직이는 사람들. 우리 동네 작은 가게로 향하는 발걸음이 우리 부산의 경제를 키워가는 한 걸음입니다. 부산 방송광고 발전 협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
It's now 8 o'clock. This is the second hour of Morning Wave in Busan. We're going to begin with Spotlight News. Busan bus drivers on strike, Seoul buses running normally. Busan's city bus union and management have failed to reach an agreement on their wage negotiations, and city buses have suspended operations. All 147 bus routes in Busan have stopped since 4:20 this morning. The city of Busan has launched an emergency transportation scheme with routes and schedules available on its website. Seoul's union and management also failed to reach an agreement, but the union announced that after a vote, its members have decided to postpone the strike. Seoul's buses are running normally. Changwon and Ulsan's respective negotiations have also fallen through. Most buses in Changwon are on strike. The strike has been suspended in Ulsan. Presidential candidates square off over politics and security in final TV debate. Democratic Party or DP's Lee Jae-myung, People Power Party PPP's Kim Moon-soo, Reform Party's Lee Jun-seok, and Democratic Labor Party, formerly the Justice Party's Kwon Young-guk, squared off over diplomacy and political reform, touching on issues ranging from the South Korea-U.S. alliance to former President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment and their final televised debate yesterday. Lee Jae-myung and Kim Moon-soo presented different policy strategies and foreign policy, with Lee seeking peace and stability on the Korean peninsula, while Kim proposed a more firm North Korea approach. Lee Jun-seok suggested merging the foreign and unification ministries and creating a new deputy prime minister post overseeing security policy. And Kwon Young-guk vowed to reform the military by appointing a civilian defense minister and seek active exchanges for peace. Han Duck-soo and Choi Sung-mok banned from leaving the country. The police banned former Prime Minister Han Duck-soo and former Deputy Prime Minister Choi Sung-mok from leaving the country as they face investigation into the alleged insurrection case related to former President Yoon Suk-yeol. This comes as the police's special investigation unit called in Han, Choi, and former Interior Minister Lee Sang-min on Monday for questioning for about 10 hours on whether they made false statements about the process of receiving martial law-related documents during a cabinet meeting prior to Yoon's martial law declaration. An exit ban on Lee Sang-min issued last December has also been extended. Youth population plummets as multicultural students' numbers soar. The number of South Koreans between the ages of 9 and 24 has nearly halved over the past 40 years, while the number of students from multicultural families has tripled in just a decade. According to a report by the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family yesterday, the number of young people aged 9 to 24 is projected to hit 7.6 million in 2025, or just 14.8% of the population, with the figure expected to decline even further to 3.3 million by 2070. In contrast, the number of multicultural students has surged over the past 10 years, reaching nearly 194,000 last year and accounting for 3.8% of all elementary, middle, and high school students. Trump administration considering social media vetting for international students. A U.S. media outlet has reported that the Trump administration is weighing requiring all foreign students applying to study in the U.S. to undergo social media vetting as it is ordered for a pause in scheduling new interviews for student visa applications. This order was made to U.S. embassies and consular sections in a cable signed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, reported by Politico. If the administration carries out the plan, it could severely slow down student visa processing. It could also hurt many universities who rely heavily on foreign students to boost their financial coffers. And this was Spotlight News. It's now time for Wagle. Haley's back.
Hello, hello.
Yes. So we're going to dive into our first story. You know, we'd be hard-pressed to find people who don't have some sort of streaming service subscription, right? And many share their accounts with family members or, I guess, even strangers. Mm-hmm. Recently, several OTT platforms have created rules banning this, and consumers not happy.
My stress level just spiked to like 7.5.
Oh no, why?
Because the money. Because I mean, with like a gazillion subscription services out there, who has some money to get every single one of them? So
yes, that's
we
true.
Share, you know, but the thing is, they won't let us. Why won't you let us? So Netflix, now going back to the news,
Okay.
Netflix has already implemented this policy to ban account or membership sharing outside that particular address, that home. Disney Plus and TVing, which is a domestic platform, they're also following suit. So Disney Plus Tipul recently sent an email to its subscribers saying starting June 24th, mark your calendars, it is banning membership sharing for those outside the family. But here's the thing though. Family, for example, I'm going to give you an example of my family. My older sister, who is family, we sometimes fight, which is a marker of family. We live in different households, but we share an account.
So how would that go?
They won't let us. That is against. So family is now people living under one roof, one address, one IP address. So on principle, membership may be used within the family, linked to devices to the subscriber's main residence.
Yes.
Basically, if you don't live in the same home, doesn't really matter whether you're blood related or not, you need to either buy a different membership or there's an option to pay extra for kind of an attached, fee. So they haven't disclosed how much it's going to be for Korea. However, in the US, where the system is already in place, additional membership for out of home is $6.99 per month, or that would be with the current currency, 9,500원, 9,500. I know.
That's
just
expensive.
like a whole other membership.
Right. Why just get your own, another one? Basically, that's what they're saying too.
Right. basically. Teaving is doing the same, except their implementation date is July 1st. And here's the thing, Wave, which is another major domestic OTT, they're actually merging with Teaving. So with the parent company being the same, once the merger happens, that policy will likely be the same. I'm so stressed.
So yeah, Haley's not happy, and I'm sure many of you are not either. Because like I have a family member, she is very much a part of a family, not living in Busan under the same roof. So you are on your own, girl.
Gonna have
You're gonna have to pay for it.
There you have it. Your stress level also high.
Yes. So why is this happening?
All right. So this is, of course, a business decision. According to industry insiders, domestic OTTs have basically plateaued, meaning they've essentially done all the growing they can with the fairly limited market that is South Korea. So their spending is getting bigger, and with original content creation and investment, those are really not big cash cows if they go well, but they also take a lot of money. So what these companies are trying to do is crack down on such membership sharing and create more revenue by separating those shared pods or their shared groups. So they can invest that money into original contents. So their reasoning is that this will create competitiveness and attract new users and keep current users because there will be good content to see on their platforms.
That's what they say. Yes.
But for the consumers, just the literal physical money, the $1 amount going out of my bank will be greater. So sharing was a way for us, the consumers, to gain access without breaking the bank. But the president of the South Korean OTT Forum said there is, of course, a chance that membership may dip temporarily. But as streaming services are relatively, I guess it's all how you look at it, cheaper than the movies. And they offer a wide variety of contents, not only film, but also drama series and comedy. They likely won't see a huge exodus, a big exit.
While you were saying this, like in my head, I was trying to calculate how many OTT.
Doing the math?
The math. No, not that like how much, because I don't know how much the membership it comes out of, my roommate's credit card, but like how many we have. So we have like 4 different OTT streaming.
Because the rule was my sister's side of the family, they pay for the overseas one, and I pay for the domestic ones, and that was 2-2. I don't know what I'm going to do now.
Yes. All right. Next story. Have you seen this? When I saw this, I looked at it in slow motion, anyway, what are we referring to? French President Emmanuel Macron getting, I don't know, is it shoved or slapped or however you want to say it, but he was kind of like
pushed.
I wouldn't say nudge. Pushed in the face by his wife.
Right. So they are trying to downplay this incident, but the clip has gone viral nonetheless. So we're playing it on our YouTube page. In the video, and that was shot by the Associated Press, you see President Emmanuel Macron getting shoved, pushed in the face, like towards his chin. He's at the doorway of a plane at the start of his visit to Hanoi. The hand that's shoving him belongs to his wife, Brigitte Macron, whom you don't see her entire body. In the video, at a very close-up and slow-mo, he seems initially shocked, or at least his eyes kind of widen. And then he turns his head, sees the cameras, and it's business as usual. He waves, smiles.
I have to say, that was good recovery.
That was good recovery.
The man's the reflexes.
Fast. Right. I mean,
like,
he's been president for how many years? He looks at the cameras, and it's boom, business
showtime.
So he later explained to reporters that the gesture was playful. They were joking around. They do this quite often. Whether you believe it or not, that's completely up to you.
Okay.
An Elysee Palace official, the presidential palace official, told the French media that the scene showed a moment of closeness, but it was enough to feed conspiracy theorists. Because this comes on the heels of another recent controversy, aka conspiracy theory, because some people on the corners of the internet thought Macron had shared a bag of cocaine, tussled with the Turkish president, and now that he's having a domestic dispute. So there was a photo or a clip of him like holding this handful of tissues, and basically people said, oh, that has cocaine inside. People will say things, right? Basically said, none of this is true. Everybody needs to calm down. But let's look at the bigger picture. Why were they in Hanoi? This is the first formal visit by the French presidential couple to Vietnam in nearly a decade. Vietnam used to be a French colony, so this is a very important visit. And actually, the two countries signed a variety of deals on planes, defense, and other pacts worth about 9 billion euros. And this comes amid all the Trump tariffs, as other countries are kind of trying to consolidate and reinforce their respective trade relationships and lessen their dependency on the U.S.
We have comments.
Oh.
Okay, so first, we have souvenirs. 근데 손도 안 잡고 내려온. Like, meaning, you know, like after the whether it was
They
play or
usually
not.
do, the first couple, they usually do come down, right?
And you can tell
Or
they
link
are
arms,
not
right.
holding hands.
Yes.
And Leslie's saying, oh, that statement was such a cover-up. Her opinion, of course. That was not a fun shove. You can tell from his face he was shocked. And she was not smiling when she came out.
I mean, a moment, not married or anywhere near, but just, you can't judge a couple's, or maybe you can, by like a moment. Because, for example, if you look at me and my other younger sister, sometimes I'm like, and then it looks like I'm an abusive sister. Maybe I am. But I love her.
Are we confessing?
At times, or maybe.
Okay.
I will not self-incriminate.
And Tommy says this is normal husband and wife. So it's like, it depends on, I guess, how you perceive things. And so...
And this is, by the way, just a snapshot of the
Yes.
general comment section under this video, basically anywhere on the internet.
Yes. All right. Last story has to do with stress, which is very much linked to our text topic.
Oh, sorry.
Taylor.
Second
It's
to
not-
last. Second to last. But
Okay, Haley wrote
this
last.
is, yes.
Okay, so our
This-
next story. So it's
My
about
bad.
how stress can not only affect you, but those around you.
Exactly.
Including your
So,
pets.
Have you? Confession. Oh, again, more
Okay.
confession time. Have you gotten really stressed at work and then gone home and lashed out?
I have vented, of course.
Of course I have.
I mean,
Yeah, of course I have.
Isn't that what families
Because I mean,
for?
I can't yell at my boss, for example, but I can yell at my mom.
Not
It's horrible.
yell.
I'm
Not yell, but
snap,
vent.
Snap.
Vent.
I mean, I've
Yes.
snapped. So the more stress you feel at work, the higher the likelihood of this being carried over to your dog, to your furry friend. Oh, what does your dog do? So this is according to a joint research from Radford University and University of Wisconsin Madison. Over 85 pet owners published in scientific report.
Okay.
So this says dog owners' job stress crosses over to their pets via work-related rumination, which is basically a fancy word about how much you ponder, you linger over your work after you come home. According to the results of the story, the more the pet owner thought about work while they were home, the dog showed a total of 11 types of anxious behavior. Yawning, whining, not making eye contact, losing appetite, and panting, among others. But this crossover effect, it's something that we see in humans. Maybe it's 눈치, maybe yours is more emotionally sensitive. However, it is important that we are seeing this in pets because families have evolved to include pets as a member of their family. So this form of psychological bonding likely got stronger over time.
I
so
see.
here's more the reason to check out and really leave that work stress at home.
I know it's difficult, but we got to try.
I know.
Because we don't want to take it out on our family
Don't be a
members.
jerk.
Yes. All right. And now our final story. It's a bit of a hump day inspiration. We need it.
I'm going to maybe stress you out a little bit more,
Okay,
though.
okay.
Last week, Dr. Ryu talked about running.
Yes.
Right? How it's good for you. And we were all a bit motivated. I heard some people, one of them's not making eye contact with me, promising that they're going to strap on a pair of at least walking shoes and power walk. How many of you have done that?
I haven't. I'm not running. Walked, yes.
All right.
Okay.
All right. If not, what's your excuse?
Yes.
All right. This is a story that'll, let's not say shame, but motivate you. A mom of a 6-month-old daughter ran an ultra marathon.
What's an ultra marathon?
100 kilometers. While, no,
Why?
I'm not done yet, breastfeeding in the middle.
Of the race?
Of the race.
Oh my God.
She sat down. She wasn't
Okay,
running.
okay.
But Stephanie Kay, she's a Canadian ultra runner. She completed the 100-kilometer ultra train Snowdonia on May 17th. Her time running, again, 100 kilometers, 16 hours, 53 minutes, and 22 seconds. That brings her to the first place spot in the women's division.
Wow.
By the way, I haven't, but if you've had kids, 6 months postpartum, are you fully recovered?
I wasn't.
Right.
I didn't feel like myself until maybe about a year after.
Right.
Like,
So absolutely many people are people are different, and we'll get to that part. But she even took the last 3 years off of racing. So it's like you haven't run intensely run in 3 years, and then you get first place. What?
Okay.
So this was actually her warm up to prepare for another race, and then she again goes and wins first place. And then she wanted to see how her 6-month-old daughter would fare being away from mom for about 17 hours.
Sure.
So there are checkpoints because you're running 100 kilometers. You need breaks for water, bathroom, and food. She got special permission from the organizers to be able to get her daughter to her to breastfeed. So instead of feeding herself, she was feeding her child. Right. And this is a meaningful message. Kay said that there is no comeback after childbirth. Only you move on to the next phase.
Ooh,
so
I like
the whole
that.
point about getting your pre-baby body,
I hate that whole notion.
it's
though.
not a thing.
Yeah.
This is what the 100-kilometer runner is saying. So, and then this next phase looks different from everyone, and she wants her performance to help society work better to support new moms in finding their own path in motherhood and reduce judgment on what it looks like.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
So inspirational. And Tommy, no, her kid did not run. The kid is 6 months old. 못 뛰어요. 6개월밖에 안 됐는데 애기예요, 애기. So thank you for going over all the waggly stories. We'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great day.
All right, now it's time for your updated traffic and weather. Here's your updated traffic. It's backed up on Chungnyeoldae from Dongnae to Naesung intersection. And it's congested on Nakdong-Namno from Myeongji Ramp to the Gangso police station. There is traffic on Yeonsuro from Suyeong intersection to Mangmi intersection. It's looking slow also on Jungangdae from Songgong three-way intersection to Samjeon intersection. Currently, it's 19 degrees here in Busan, clear skies. It's going to go up to 24 today, but showers are expected in the evening. Across the country, showers are forecast for parts of Gangwon and Gyeongbuk in the morning. And then it's going to spread to the rest of the country by this afternoon. Some areas, though, hot temperatures, expectations of going up to 29 degrees Celsius in some areas. Bad find us levels in the capital area as well. This was your traffic and weather. It's time for a special interview. As cyberspace becomes increasingly complex, the risk of personal information being exposed to hackers continues to grow. For example, here in South Korea, we often hear alarming news about, the newest phishing scams. Cases where, for example, individuals receive like a fake invitation link or a text message that appears to be from a family member only to click on it. And then what happens? Well, sometimes, yes, money exits your bank account, along with personal information as well. Not to mention the recent SKT Usum data breach. So this raises important questions. How can we stay vigilant and protect our digital assets? So let's find out more. We have invited to the airwaves Ali Degantanha, who's a professor and Canada Research Chair in Cybersecurity and Threat Intelligence and the MCTI Director at the University of Guelph. So let's say hi to him. Hi, welcome to the program.
Hello, it's great to be here.
Yes. So first of all, Professor, if you can briefly explain, the biggest cyber threats that individuals and companies face today.
Right, sure. Well, I would say the number one threat is ransomware attacks. That's where the attackers somehow get access to the system or the data and then they encrypt or encode the data with their own keys, so the data is not accessible by the end user, by the main user, and then they ask for a ransom payment, usually in terms of cryptocurrencies, right, to be paid, so they would decode the data, right? And this is the most dominant type of attack these days. Most of the attackers are trying to send users links, get them to accept a connection from them or some files from them for the sake of dropping the ransomware and infecting them.
Indeed. So when we have these like antivirus programs or malware detection tools or, data protection services, are they enough to keep us safe? Because we see them, they pop up, they tell us like in a little pop-up saying like, oh, you're being protected by this and this, right? But are they really working, or do we need to take it one step further?
Well, you minimally need to have these antivirus or malware detection tools, right? They are providing the very minimum level of security, which means if there is a known malicious file, they will be able to block and detect it. But first of all, many of the attackers are changing their files in the way that these tools are not detecting them. Secondly, if the end user willingly click on the link or willingly run a file, these tools would not be effective whatsoever, right? So definitely they should be there, but a lot more is needed. That's including user education, including possibly endpoint security systems that needs to be installed and protect the users.
I see. So you're saying, once again, that's kind of the minimum, and we do have to up it in terms of security. Well, in terms of companies, how can companies prepare against large-scale cyber attacks? Because ultimately, it's not just the companies that we're talking about, especially if they're selling a service. Consumers are affected as well.
True. The first and the main action that the companies should take is increase the security awareness among their employees, their contractors. That's the number one. Because regardless of the technologies that we deploy or actions that we take, if the end user is clicking on the link or collaborating with the attackers, those would not be effective. That's the first thing they can do. The second is every time or any time that there is any authentication, which means the user need to put username and a password, for example, to get to the system, they always make the two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication compulsory, meaning the users need to receive an SMS and then put that SMS into the system, right? So only having username and a password would not be enough, and the attackers need to have a secondary means to get into the system. These two steps alone would reduce a lot of cyber attacks significantly. And the third one that I would suggest would be following the minimum access rule, meaning give the users the minimum access that they really need for their day-to-day job. Because usually what the attackers need to do is they need to have the privilege to execute files or install files, right?
Yes.
Which is more than what the normal employees would need. So the minimum privilege would be the third step that the companies can take to significantly reduce the impact of the cyber attacks on their organization.
I see, having like different tiers of, I guess, security clearance.
Right.
I fully understand.
That's right. That's right.
Nowadays, Professor, we hear about AI, whether it's generative AI or just AI in general. On a daily basis, there's a new story or a new, function that comes out. How is AI being used in both defending against and vice versa, launching cyber attacks?
Right, sure. I mean, sometimes I'm joking with my colleagues that it looks to me that we are in a cat and mouse game with the AI these days. The more that we as the defenders are using AI to automate our task or automatically and instantly detect the attackers, on the other side, attackers are using AI as well to speed up their operation, right? So AI these days is significantly used in cybersecurity, both for defense and offense purposes, both by the good guys and the bad guys, right? What has been happened is with the adoption of the AI is first the time of the attack and the time that the attackers need to get into the system is significantly reduced. You know, it used to be that the attackers need to have sometimes even hours to get into their targets when they are initially get into their network. But these days it's a matter of minutes, right? Or it used to be that the so-called phishing emails that the attackers were crafting were easily identifiable because of broken English or broken language uses in other countries, right? But no more. You know, their emails are now becoming very, very well written, right? So all of those security protection are now failing.
Oh, well, not great to hear, of course. And with this going on, I feel that, international cooperation, I would assume, is important when it comes to cybersecurity. I mean, but the question is this, Professor. Are countries actually working together? Or is it more of a competitive thing between and among the countries?
Well, international cooperation is important step to fight cyber attacks. You know, normally what we observe is attackers who are targeting users, they are rarely targeting users from their own country or from their own even geographical area, right? So tracking them and then later on arresting them would require international cooperation. But as you mentioned, the level of that international cooperation is not acceptable, I would say, right? It's not enough in terms of fighting cyber crimes. You know, giving you an example, these days, if you are sitting in, Russia and launching an attack against Canada or United States, you can be assured that you would never be arrested, right? Regardless of what you do, right? And that's not acceptable because most of these cyber crimes are targeting normal civilians, and that cooperation should be there. But at the same time, it is not there, and I don't see in any near future we would be able to have a true international cooperation, especially for fighting cyber crimes.
I see. Well, in terms of what the future of cybersecurity might look like, whether it's 5 years down the line or even a decade, 10 years down the line, what do you see as the most important developments that might be coming our way?
Right. I mean, predicting 10 years is quite difficult. 10 years ago, we were just started using mobile phones, and these days everyone is just thinking about AI, right?
That's true.
But what I can say is, I would say with the wider adoption of AI and agentic AI technologies, we would see a completely new threat landscape, meaning attackers would start targeting AI engines and AI agents as well. Or they are trying to build AI agents that can do all those malicious activities days and nights in the speed of light, right? So these are the changes that we would see happening under the ground. I would expect the next 5 years, we would spend a lot of our time trying to secure these AI systems and making sure that the human are in the control when these AI systems fail, right? To respond.
Well, our final question, I think, might be the most important, at least for our listeners today. What do you think are the most effective cybersecurity practices for average lay people like me?
That's right. The number one suggestion that I have is always enable multi-factor authentication on all your devices. Which means what? Which means if the system allows you to get a message, an SMS, and then put that SMS token, enable that. Always enable that two-factor authentication. That alone would significantly enhance your level of security for all your accounts, right?
Yes.
That's the first one. And second is try to always update your system. So if an update is available, don't delay it. Go ahead and apply that update, right? These updates usually include some security updates as well. That is important. And thirdly, minimally try to install antiviruses or anti-malware tools on your system and make sure that you are getting them up to date. A good one, right? Would be really helpful. These three could save you a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for schooling us today on the threats of cybersecurity. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you, Professor.
Great to be here. Thank you.
This was Professor Ali Degantana, and we talked about, lately, cybersecurity. It is definitely an issue, especially for people here in Korea. If you were affected by the USAM data breach, it's on our minds, right? So I hope that was helpful for all of you. We're going to take a short song break. So this is Something Just Like This by the Chainsmokers and Coldplay.
Of old, the legends and the myths, Achilles and his gold, Hercules and his gifts, Spider-Man's control, and Batman with his fist. And clearly I don't see myself upon that list. But she said, where'd you wanna go? How much you wanna risk? I'm not looking for somebody with some superhuman gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss, just something I can turn to, somebody I can kiss. I want something just like this. Oh, I want something just like this. And the myths, the testaments they told, the moon and its eclipse, and Superman unrolls a suit before he lived. But I'm not the kind of person that it fits. She said, where'd you wanna go? How much you wanna risk? I'm not looking for somebody with some superhuman gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss, just something I can turn to, somebody I can miss. I want something just like this. I want something just like this. Oh, I want something just like this. Something just like this. Where'd you wanna go? How much you wanna risk? I'm looking for somebody with some superhuman gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss, just something I can turn to, somebody I can kiss. I want something just like this.
Welcome back, everybody. You know, we've been talking about so many different topics today. Of course, our text topic is, what is your current stress level? So people have been, sending in their responses to that. But I have a message from 김미라 Waver who says, 어제 저녁 부부 다툼 좀 하고 남편이 사과했지만 아직도 제 기분이 안 좋아서 아침에 냉랭했대요. 근데 우리 남편이 조금 부끄럽지만 캐서린 부부 얘기 듣고 더 반성하면 좋겠어요. If you missed hour number 1, this was like the one and only time I went into detail about like my personal relationship, like that deep. And I said, oh no, but they wrote a follow-up message saying, 괜찮아요. 방송 덕분에 기분도 풀어지고 우리 남편은 더 사과하고 so, and she adds at the end, 저희도 평소에 손 잡고 다녀요. So I'm so happy. It's not just, me. There are plenty of people, couples, whether you're married or not, we're just like life partners that are into the hand-holding. So yeah, that's definitely good. And looking at some other responses that have come in, I would say on average, your stress level surprisingly is not that high. I think mine is the highest. I said like right now because of what it is with college admissions and all that, it's like a 6.5, right? Normally I would say I'm like a 4 or 5, but I would say the highest I've seen on the board thus far is like a 3. I don't see many people who have texted back saying, going beyond like a 3. So relatively speaking, that's definitely good in my eyes that you don't feel that much stress. But, as Lian mentioned earlier, it might vary according to what time of the day it is. Like during the day, maybe work is not that stressful, but then when you get home, there are different stress factors. We all love our family, but sometimes whatever the situation is, it can make you stressed out. Whether it's like exam season and like your little one is like, studying so much and you have to look after him or her, or maybe, your significant other, your partner didn't have a great day at work. And, maybe wants to do a little venting at home. So that can definitely add to your stress level as well. So thank you for your comments. And yes, we are going to get to our next segment with Jennifer. This is Work in Progress, which means Jennifer's here in the studio with me. Let's say hi first. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yay.
The sun is shining.
I know. You're shining as well. You look so
I'm in a
bright
good
and
mood.
summery.
But
Why
the
are you in a
weather
good
really
mood?
affects my mood.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when it's rainy and windy and it's
That's true.
I feel a little low. But today, I'm
Question
happy.
for you. I have 2 questions.
Sure.
What's your current stress level from 1 to 10? And like, what's the main cause of it? And then second fold, because like a lot of the married people, they were waggling earlier on our, like we do hold hands in public or we don't and all that, right? So,
First question. Stress level relatively high.
Oh.
Because of poor health. I've been suffering from back pain, herniated disc. And that's been going on for so long.
That's the worst.
So it's really affecting the stress level. But I'm doing my best. I take a walk regularly and I take some health supplements.
Yeah. And you also mentioned earlier that if it's not too personal, your little one went through her first midterm
exam in
season.
High school.
Wasn't that stressful?
It makes such a big difference because I'm not bragging, but my daughter used to be like one of the star students in
middle school, right?
In middle school.
And then?
But now things have changed, So she's really traumatized and shocked by her grades.
There were tears, right? I remember too. That's like a very difficult transition when you're like a top student in middle school and then you go to high school and you realize there's no such thing as 100
I'm not
usually.
Special,
Right. It's tough. And then I want to ask you, do you hold hands in public?
I'm so curious. No. Because for another reason.
There's a reason.
Because I don't like sweaty hands. So even when I was dating, I was not the kind of person who hold hands with a boyfriend.
Is it your hands that are sweating or his hands?
His hands.
Oh, his hands. Oh.
전 진짜 땀 많은 사람들이랑 손잡고 하는 게.
To you.
네. 좀 불편하더라고요.
남편분 맨날 이렇게 막. He's like wiping his hands on his pants.
I like to stay dry.
Yes. We have a message from Umberto. Holding hands in public, yes. Quick kiss in public, yes. After 18 years, still a go. Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, that is.
Umberto, you're such a lovebird. Okay.
Yeah, you know I'm capital T.
Well, now we are ready for our topic for work in progress.
Yes, today's topic is something that's been making a lot of people nod their heads lately.
Yes.
We are talking about the growing trend in workplaces, especially among younger workers where no one wants to become team leader or manager anymore.
그 다 피하는 거죠, 지금. 팀장이고, any kind of like...
승진도 괜찮다.
Oh, no, thank you. Ooh, interesting. But like, I don't know. That must be like the younger crowd. Because like, you know, our generation is like, we want to be promoted. when is that
like
coming?
one of our goals, right?
네. PD님, 나이가 젊은 편이라서.
맞아요.
저도 no thank you. She's like,
저도 no thank you.
Okay, so like I said, I mean, that used to be the goal, right? You want to make it to the next, level and become team manager, right?
Yeah, 차장님, 부장님.
And work your way up that ladder, right?
Yeah, that's true. But these days, many people, especially Gen Z and younger millennials, are saying no thanks. They are declining promotions or leadership roles even when they are offered.
Really?
Yeah, it's hard to understand for our generation, right?
I don't get it, but okay, why? We need a better understanding.
Yeah.
Why is this happening?
There are a few reasons. First, people have seen how much stress their team leaders go through. Long hours, high responsibility, constant pressure from both above and below.
That's true.
And it doesn't look so appealing.
Right.
To be honest.
So when you think about it, it's like added work, higher levels of stress, and sometimes, not even that much more pay.
No.
Like there isn't a huge difference.
Insignificant raise.
Like, is it worth it? All the stress and, responsibility?
In fact, a survey in Korea showed that 7 out of 10 workers in their 20s and 30s said they don't want a management position. And the top reason? Too much responsibility compared to rewards.
Ooh. Okay, so I understand. If you're getting like overburdened with work and stress, but then, they're not incentivizing it, then why should I take on the extra stress when I could just like basically do my job? Be in at 9, count the hours, out by 6 or whatever time, clock out, and have like a regular life outside of work.
It doesn't mean they want to do bare minimum,
Sure.
but they just don't want this burden and responsibility. And there's a growing value being placed on a work-life balance. And leadership roles often mean sacrificing that, working long hours.
Yes. So is this trend happening just in Korea?
Not at all. It's happening in countries like US, UK, Japan, and Germany, and many other countries. Some companies are even struggling to find new managers because no one wants the job.
I just still don't get it, but yes. Okay. So how are the companies like reacting to all of this?
Well, some are worried. Others are trying to make leadership more attractive, offering better compensation, flexible hours, or more support systems. But it's not an easy fix.
I'm sure if they're throwing things like that at the situation, it could help a little bit. But, in the past, becoming like, a manager was like a symbol of success, right? Like, 열심히 일했으니까 이렇게
and you earn respect.
You earned it, right?
Yeah.
But it now does feel like people are kind of redefining what success actually means.
Absolutely. For a lot of Gen Z workers, success might mean freedom, mental health, personal growth, not necessarily a title. Because title used to be very important in the past, right?
Right. So, okay, let that sink in, especially for people who are probably of similar age to us. So, let's talk about social media, SNS. Do you think that social media has also had an impact or influenced this kind of thinking? Because we do see lots of stories, like burnout stories or toxic, work relationships or leadership experiences.
Toxic environment.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. There's much more transparency now, though.
Okay.
People know that what they are signing up for. And they are thinking twice. So we cannot say this is necessarily a bad thing.
Okay. Okay, to each his or her own.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. Isn't it a problem if no one wants to lead? I mean, we still need someone to kind of guide the team or like to make, important decisions and handle kind of like the big stuff.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's actually forcing companies to rethink leadership altogether.
Okay, so how are they doing this? Because this is, I think, really important now.
Well, we are seeing more emphasis on distributed leadership.
Distributed leadership.
Rather than top-down. Well, where responsibility is shared rather than placed on one person. So teams are becoming like flatter with rotating leaders or shared roles. So not one person takes all responsibilities.
So maybe like a project-based kind of leadership style instead of like a permanent like hierarchy.
Yeah, we can say that. And some organizations are even exploring servant leadership models, so where the leader's role is more about supporting the team rather than directing it and giving orders.
Oh, so it sounds like, definitely refreshing, different. But I'm thinking that, especially for like companies that have been there for such a long time, maybe not so easy to really change the infrastructure of a particular the culture of a firm or a company.
Sure, that's true. It's a cultural shift and it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. But the pressure is building, and if companies can't find people to step up, they have to make the step up feel worth it.
So let's talk about what could help. For example, what might make somebody in their maybe 20s, early 30s actually desire to be a team leader?
Money? I'm just kidding.
Money's always good.
Yeah, money's always good. But mentorship, fair compensation, and sense of purpose, clear growth paths, and maybe a better work environment overall.
Yes.
Also helping future leaders build the emotional intelligence and resilience before giving them the role. So have them ready.
We have a message. 두둥님 who says 솔직히 돈이라도 많이 주면 하죠. But I think that's so refreshingly honest.
Yeah.
Like if they made it so significant, then I mean some people might say, you know what? I think it's worth it. It's worth the effort, the stress, a little bit of added stress, right?
Yeah, you're compensated.
Yes. However, you don't want to just throw people into the deep end and just say, hey, yes.
And when things don't turn out right and you get all the blame, and that's not fair.
Right.
Yeah. You can't just say, congratulations, you're team lead now, figure it out.
Right.
That's a recipe for burnout.
That's true. So, it feels like the real question might be, why don't younger people want to be leaders? And it's kind of more like, why would they? To change the wording of it, right? The focus.
If leadership doesn't come with the meaning, support, or reward, why would anyone want the extra pressure and stress?
True.
We talked about stress today,
right?
So
we have to kind of rethink even the way we're thinking about it. Because at first we were like, why wouldn't you want to to be promoted and to be 팀장 or whatever the title might come with it? So I guess companies they have to ask it's not just well, do you want a promotion? Do you want to be a team leader? It's who is even willing to take on the job itself, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not laziness. It's a reflection of changing values and priorities.
Yes.
Maybe we are just in the middle of a major shift in how we define leadership. And that just reminds me, I remember when I was little, my father used to work even on Saturdays. Sometimes even on Sundays.
It was a whole different generation,
yeah,
though. Right.
And
when you think about even schools in Korea, I remember I used to visit my cousins in Korea, and I think they did a half day on Saturday too, right? 토요일날도 학교 가지 않았어요? At least for half a day, right? So yes,
the world is changing. It has changed a lot.
So you and we have to adjust to this changing world. And I think our producer also makes a really good point. She says you really have to really love your job to take on more responsibility. That's important too.
You have to find the meaning in your job. Right?
Absolutely. Well, we're going to call it a day for today. Thank you so much for bringing in a very timely topic for our listeners, and we'll check in with you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Everybody, this was Jennifer with Work in Progress. So we, of course, have so much that we covered today, but also I do want to remind you that early voting for the presidential election is tomorrow and Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and you can vote anywhere in the country, meaning you do not have to go to your designated polling station. If you're unable to vote or have work next Tuesday on election day, this might be a chance for you to exercise your civic duty. So, of course, encouraging you to get out and vote. Of course, your personal vote. This program, Morning Wave in Busan, is produced by 조예지. We have our writers, Haley and Sue. I'm your host, Catherine. I'll be back to do it all over again tomorrow. Final song is 파이팅 해야지 by 부석순. So have a good one. Bye, everybody.
일어나야지 아침인데 네가 따끈 해가 춘천인데 아침밥은 10분 더 자야 돼 Take out the freedom 돈 속에 것들은 다 왜 잘나 보여 나왜 또왜 아둥바둥 또왜 이리저리 쳐왜 다 이어폰 꺼본 좀비 비교해 모두 다 텐션업 펌핑 힘을 좀 내어보자 우린 여러분의 부석순 반복되는 하루에 시작이 되는 이 노래 네 옆에서 불러주겠어 힘내지 못하겠어 Fight it Don't give it up never give it up yeah Fight it 우리 부석순 Fighting 해야지 친구들은 다왜 잘나 보여 나만 왜 또왜 아둥바둥 또왜 이리저리 저왜 다 이어폰 꺼본 좀비 비교해 모두 다 텐션업 펌핑 힘을 좀 내어보자 우린 여러분의 부석순 반복되는 하루에 시작이 되는 이 노래 네 옆에서 불러주겠어 힘내지 못하겠어 Fight it 해야지 Don't give it up never give it up yeah Fight it 해야지
Okay 모닝 카페인은 디카페인 일찍 일어나니 기분 뭐같지 철없이 부재중 전화 제끼고 dance with my lazy